No. Okay. Hi. So today we chose for our Love and Lost project, we chose to do the book Every Day by David Levithan, where there is the plot is that there's a character named A who wakes up in a different body every single day. And we are doing the Socratic seminar project. So Chloe, take it away.
Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting when I started reading the book. It took like the first chapter, it was really interesting just to see like, oh, like this is what he thinks of, because in his life he doesn't have a family and he doesn't have friends because every day he lives a whole nother life. So he kind of views the world, as A said, like through almost like looking on the outside in, because he's lived in so many different situations. Um, but based off that, like I was really wondering, like if he did have a family, or like how many other people would be like him in this world.
Yeah, so I was really interested because with all of with like him, I was honestly wondering, that's what I was thinking the whole first half of the book. I was like, are there other people like him? Because I feel like it would be likely that there are, because I feel like, with so many whatever billions of people in the world, like it's really difficult to be completely unique. And so I feel like someone else out there, especially in this like novel world, has to have kind of what he has, or has to be going through what he's going through. So I obviously, like, I can't give an exact number estimate, but I definitely would say that there's like more people out there like him, and maybe there's people that okay. So
No, yeah, that's a great point. And then another thing I was wondering was like if, because he's so used to it by now. I think he said that A was around 16 years old. Um, so he's been in at this like lifestyle for 16 years. So it's kind of interesting to think like if he were to actually stay in a body and he just stopped switching, like how do you think he would be able to adjust, or like how do you think his life would change?
yeah. So I was definitely thinking that, like, honestly, it would be as big of a change to go from waking up in a different body every day to it would be as big of a change to go from like our normal life that we're living to waking up in a different body every day than it would be for him to like go from waking up in a different body every day to waking up in the same body. Like, it would just be such a drastic difference. I feel like he would really have to relearn like some of the basics of life, because he doesn't know like, how to have a relationship with someone, or how to like have a friendship, since he's never been able to have those long lasting connections. So that was a really interesting thing that I was thinking about also, like what would happen. And I think he would honestly, and I also think he would feel a lot of guilt, because I think he knows he would be taking, someone else's life away from them. And if he woke up in someone else's body and then just stayed there. So I think it'd be really difficult, but I think eventually he would probably, learn to adapt and he'd figure it out. So that's kind of what my thinking was on that.
Yeah, because he's so used to like having everything for a day, and it's like he he doesn't really want to make them, like he can't really do anything drastic because he always has this constant lagging fear that he's gonna like ruin the person's life or like mess it up for them, because it's not his life, like he doesn't it's not his place to like change something. um but I also think like it's important to note that I think he was in Kelsey's body, and he noticed that in the journal entries that she was writing, that she was basically planning. She was dealing with a lot of mental issues, and she was planning on committing suicide in I think 6 days or something. And I think it was really brave of A to then stand up to her father and try to make sure that she got some help for that. So like how do you think being in those situations, like do you think that was the right thing to do, or do you think he should have stayed out of Kelsey's business?
Yeah, so I was really thinking about that also when I was reading that chapter, because obviously that chapter was like really one of the more intense ones in the first half of the book. And I mean, I think that honestly, I feel like A has a lot of really good moral judgment, since he's had to like make so many decisions for other people in his life, that he like he knows kind of what's right and what's wrong. He knows, I think, what to do. But when he did that, I honestly, I don't think he was completely overstepping. I think he might have been overstepping his boundaries, but I don't think it was in, a particularly bad way, because I feel like, especially when you're in that situation, when Kelsey was clearly like really, really sad, I think she clearly like needed help. But I feel like sometimes in those situations, it's really hard to ask for help. So if A could do that for her, I think it would be really, it's really helpful. And I think it's something that it honestly just shows like he wasn't comfortable with stepping out of the boundaries. Like he didn't exactly want to tell her dad or ask the dad for help, but he did that because he knew it was what was best for her, and because he didn't want her to commit suicide, and he didn't want that for her. And I think he used his own like moral and ethic, ideals that he's created over his 16 years to definitely make the right decision, I think, and get Kelsey help that she needed. And hopefully she stayed, alive and didn't make such a
Yeah,
drastic.
and it's also interesting to think about, like, A has lived through so many people's lives. I mean, if there's like 365 days in a year and he's like 16 years old, like that's a lot of lives that you've lived through. And he's been through, or like A has been through many different like genders and races and people who are dealing with like these big mental issues. But for him, he's never had to like consecutively deal with this, like especially mental issues. Like he's been through single day like things that he's had to deal with, but over the course of time I don't think he truly understands how you can feel that trapped and like feel like there is no one that can help you and you feel like you can't ask for help. So for him to stand up and do that for Kelsey was, I think, a really like brave thing for him to do, and I think it would have really made a difference in her life.
Yeah. And so off of that, like off of him making decisions, in other people's lives that they're going to have to live with, and so will he. I was wondering if you thought that it was unfair of A to take a day for himself in Justin's body and like and fall in love with Rhiannon and like really start talking and really like commit himself to a relationship with her, even though he knew that he wouldn't really be able to be there all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel two ways because A sometimes took that initiative for himself, like I'm gonna try to be respectful and like make sure I don't do anything too drastic for this person's life because I want them to come back the next day and just feel like nothing ever happened, like it was like just the same as their everyday schedule. But for A in that situation, I feel like he really did like Rhiannon, and she had this like fear about seeing like A's body, who was Justin. Um, and I feel like he looked into her eyes and was kind of like, I want to give you a really nice day that you'll remember for a while because I'm only here for one day. And even if you are struggling in this kind of relationship with Justin, like just have one day and maybe who knows, like maybe that might help their relationship in the long term. And it'll it's I don't it was more just for the day, like helping her to feel satisfied and to feel happy again, because um I think he said like Justin hadn't really been paying that much attention to her. So I feel like giving her that day of happiness was really beneficial for her.
Yeah, I think it was like hard. Like he was really blindsided by his love for her, and I don't think that he
Mm-hmm.
like was able to fully think through like what the repercussions might have been, and what situation that would be putting them through. And I think if he was just like, I think that the whole thing, the whole day was just kind of him blinded by love and wanting to give Rhiannon the best. And
Yeah,
I think
because he never lives more than a day in that person's life. He never is gonna build those lasting relationships. So I feel like he really just wanted to take advantage of that one day he had with her and make it like really special.
yeah, so I had a question about long-lasting relationships. It was basically, how would you feel if you were like A and you weren't able to build long-lasting connections like with other people? How do you think that would affect you?
I mean, personally, I think that would be really hard because without like living your life without having friends or family that you like know and you can just spend your life like with is really a hard situation. um because your friends are like who you spend your time with, and your family, you like live with them and they know everything about you, and like it's just you feel so close. And I feel like that might be hard for A, especially if he like if he was to stop switching bodies or something, if he like I feel like that would take time because he never really opens up to people because he has all these secrets he's hiding. And I feel like that would be really hard for him to adjust and have to build these lasting relationships because he's so used to living life by the day.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. Like, I think like my family, my friends, they're my support system and they're like who I can rely
Mhm.
on and something. And so if I wasn't able to have that, then I think that would be really, really difficult. And yeah, I don't know how I did that, honestly. Um, so as for A, though, he was able to open up, to Rihanna, and basically throughout this story, that's like the person that we saw him open up with. So what do you think it shows about Rihanna that she did believe A when he told her his big secret, and that she accepted him still and was still like kind of willing to pursue a relationship? Like, what do you think that shows?
Yeah, well, also in the beginning, he wasn't like Rhiannon was still dating Justin, and even though that relationship wasn't like super close, she still felt that she should be loyal to Justin and be like, "Oh yeah, A, you're like my friend, like I really like you." But I feel like she I don't know, there's always that sense that she kind of felt bad and like needed to be with Justin. But the fact that she accepted A and wasn't like kept emailing him, and even though he switched and he was all these different people, like one time he came in as like I think he was like this really 400-pound like guy or something, and this other time he was this like super pretty looking girl, and it was like even though Rhiannon had like Rhiannon trusted and became friends with A, even though he didn't really have a like she fell in love with his like personality, which I think is a really strong message because it's really like what's on the inside that matters. Like it's your morals and like your personality over your looks. So I think that was a good message for that the author was trying to get across.
Yeah, and I think it does show a lot about Rihanna that she was able to like look past certain aspects and
Yeah.
just like pursue this relationship just because she fell for like him.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was the first half of the book, our Socratic seminar for the first half of the book. So yes, thank you.